All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us here on the latest edition of the Green New York Lunchtime Learning webinar series. My name is Brendan Woodruff. I'm the Director of Sustainability at the New York State DEC and one of the co-chairs of the Green New York Council. Welcome to today's presentation. It's a really exciting one here, so I'm glad that you were able to make it. A couple housekeeping things before we get started today. Everybody is on mute upon entry, so if you do have questions as we go along, please type them into the chat box, and we will get to those at the end. So any questions, type them into the chat box. This webinar also is being recorded, and it will be posted up on the Green New York website afterwards. So if there's something you missed or you want to share it with a colleague, I'll put a link to that in the chat so that you can see that, but it will be up on the website. In addition, our next Lunchtime Learning webinar is going to be on March 8th. Again, that's a Tuesday at noon. It's on sustainability for kids, featuring DEC's Chris Bowser, who is fantastic. Some of you might have seen his Facebook Live events during the pandemic. He does a really great job and is going to have some great stuff for parents to work with their kids on. So today's presentation I'm really excited about. We've got Christina Campo from DEC's Pollution Prevention Unit, who's done an absolutely fantastic job on this subject area and on a lot of others through our Green New York program in our Executive Order for Green Purchasing Specifications. And I really like this example of doing the work to make state government more sustainable through creating a purchasing policy for something such as flooring, and then also showing others how they can use that in their own lives and taking that work and bringing it more alive for folks. So I really want to thank Christina for being here today in doing that and expanding on it. And just a plug for any of the state employees out there, if you do want to get involved with the Green Procurement Program or any of our green efforts, let me know. Put something in the chat. I can reach out to you. We're always looking for more folks to help us. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Christina for today's presentation.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction, Brendan. Good afternoon, everyone. As Brendan stated, my name is Christina Campo, and I have been an employee at the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation in the Pollution Prevention Unit for about 6.5 years. Previously, I also worked for New York State Department of Health for a couple of years. I have a bachelor's in science and natural resources management and a master's in science and environmental studies. Today's presentation, as Brendan noted, is drawn upon years of research that I conducted in order to write a highly comprehensive floor covering specification for the Green New York Green Procurement Subcommittee for the state purchasing of a variety of different types of commercial floor coverings. Today's presentation shifts that focus more toward residential flooring options and equipping you with the best information available in order to be able to choose greener, healthier, and more sustainable types of flooring for your household. So during today's presentation, I will cover the following topics. We'll go through a brief history of floor coverings, the different floor covering categories, chemicals of concern, best practices, and installation and maintenance. The most historically popular and likely the oldest type of flooring is what's called earthen floor. Earthen floors are also called adobe floors or rammed earth floors. They have been found in both ancient and modern day structures from Europe to China, ancient Greece to North and South America. These floors were made of what they sound like they're made of, hard-packed dirt, raw earth, stones, and other unworked ground materials laid upon bare earth. Sometimes straw was then added on top for an extra layer of warmth. In more modern times, earthen floors are composed of sand, straw, and clay, and are mixed together into a thickened consistency and spread with a trowel on a subsurface such as concrete. Once dried, the floor is usually saturated with a type of drying oil, which is usually linseed oil, and then it's finished with a sealing wax. Another ancient material that was used for flooring tile is tile. It is thought that ceramic tile art originated in ancient China. Developed tiles decorated with painted images, and those tiles were later popularized and spread throughout the world by Persian traders. The ancient Greeks incorporated these tiles into elaborate mosaic floors, intermingled with marble, travertine, and other stone materials. The ancient Egyptians are thought to have invented kiln-fired pottery and thus created their own tiles this way, which were also popularized and spread around the world by Persian traders. Artisan tiles were only available for wealthier households up until the Victorian era, when a newer, cheaper, mass-produced production of plain, square, and geometric tile was invented. By the 1850s, these cheaper tiles were largely found in middle-class homes. Moving on to carpet and rugs. Rugs were invented around 464 BC. Rugs are typically considered to be smaller than a room and are not attached to the floor. Carpet is typically a pile of textile injected and bonded into a backing material that is ultimately intended to cover an entire room and be attached to the floor. The manufacturing of carpet worldwide has very different origination dates, but in the United States, the carpet industry began in 1791 in Philadelphia. By the 1800s, there were numerous manufacturers throughout New England. And next up is wood flooring. The oldest wood floor was invented in the Middle Ages. At this time, rough-cut planks were laid, sanded, and stained or varnished. They were arranged with no proper precision for many centuries due to no standardization of techniques. By the 1600s, artistic French parquet patterns appeared and were only affordable for the wealthy. Parquet floors started to appear in the wealthiest American homes by the 1800s, until the advent of tongue and groove construction allowed planks to be leveled before installation. By the early 1900s, most solid wood was manufactured and laid out in wide, thick planks, cut from old growth from American forests. Because of the tree's age and massive diameter, the tree's heartwood was highly desirable because it is extremely tight-grained, making the lumber harder and more durable than the relatively immature wood of the same species that is harvested today. And here's a few examples of the tiles that I was talking about in the previous slide. Our first tile is some of the Chinese tile that was, this one in particular was created in the 17th century. We have Egyptian tile over on the right, featuring the Eye of Horus there in the middle. This particular piece of tile is thought to have been created in 300 BC. And on the bottom, we have an example of that ancient Greek mosaic tile that's usually intermingled with brick and stone. These are just a couple examples, so you have a visual of what parquet floors are. These are some older parquet floor images that I found. A lot of them, again, have this intricate sort of like square or diamond look to them, and they're not interlocked like modern hardwood floors tend to be. Here's a couple great pictures. This first picture is from some original wood flooring from Dover Castle in the UK. These floors were likely built at some point during the Middle Ages around AD 1180. And the second picture here is what's called the Pazyryk rug, and it's one of the oldest carpets in the world, dating around the 4th to 3rd centuries BC. It was found in 1949 in a burial mound in a mountain valley in Kazakhstan. The rug had been frozen in ice and it was very well preserved. All parts of the rug are made of wool, including the pile and the base. Now we will go over some more modern types of flooring from the 1800s to the early 1900s. They include cork, linoleum, vinyl, and laminate. Cork is commonly thought to be wood because it comes from trees, but it's technically considered to be a dead tissue, making it an inert substance. It comes from the bark of a cork oak tree, which is evergreen and unique because it has the ability to regenerate its outer bark. While ancient civilizations used cork for many applications, including buoys, sandals, bottle stoppers, construction, and insulation, it is unclear as to whether cork was used for flooring. Fast forward to the 1800s, cork was used as flooring in Spanish and Portuguese cathedrals, primarily because they had an abundance of the material. It was reintroduced as a flooring product around 1900 in North America and became very popular. Linoleum was invented by Englishman Frederick Walton in 1855. One day he noticed that atop a can of oil paint, a stretchy substance settled there, which was linseed oil, and he decided to experiment with it. After several different mixes and failed trials, he eventually decided to mix the linseed oil with cork dust, sticky gum, pigment, and then rolled it out onto sheets backed by cotton cloth. It worked, and by the 1860s he began manufacturing his newly patented product in Europe, which he called linoleum, a combination of the Latin words for oil and flax. Competitors soon entered the market, so he opened the American Linoleum Manufacturing Company in 1872 on Staten Island, in a town that was named Linoleumville, later renamed to Travis in 1930. We will cover linoleum much more deeply in later slides. And then we have vinyl flooring. It's also called PVC flooring or luxury vinyl tile or luxury vinyl plank. Vinyl was invented in the 1920s and widely replaced linoleum at the time. Vinyl is a synthetic plastic. It's a PVC-based polymer impregnated with plasticizers to make it more flexible. It comes in many designs that often replicate wood or stone. And today it is very often confused with linoleum or laminate flooring. Laminate is a synthetic product that was invented in Sweden in the 1920s, but it was not used for flooring until 1977 when it was invented by a Swedish company called Perstorp. Laminate replaced traditional wood flooring to a large degree, beginning in the late 1970s, because it was less costly. It consists of a clear protective layer of plastic over a photographic image of wood, which in turn sits on top of multiple layers of compressed paper or fiber. In 1984, Perstorp created a new laminate flooring product called Pergo, which became a widely successful and desirable product in Europe and the United States. So here we have a couple images of old linoleum flooring. On the right-hand side, it's more of a flat linoleum, and on the left, you see more of like a textured linoleum. Both of those were very popular at the time. And then we have contrast here of laminate and vinyl flooring. These two are often very confused. So as you can notice in this picture, laminate flooring is rigid and made of wood and other components, and vinyl flooring is more flexible. So here we get into categorizing our floor coverings. We have the earthen floors we touched upon earlier, resilient flooring, which is linoleum, cork, and vinyl, and hard surface flooring, which is solid wood, ceramic tile, engineered hardwood, laminate, and textile, which is broadloom and tile carpets. There are other subcategories of floor coverings out there which will not be covered today. They include but are not limited to concrete and fluid applied flooring, both of which are typically poured on site. There are also other resilient flooring options out there, including rubber, polyurethane, bio-based, or industry-specific designer compositions. Glass tile, stone, and brick are typically used for very specific or artisan applications, so we will not be including those in today's discussion. Earthen floors are the true outlier among all of the floor covering categories and are not something you can find at your local building supply store. They require a good deal of pre-planning and an interest in DIY home projects or the ability to hire an artisan familiar with this type of work. Earthen floors vary greatly in methodology and materials, but truly sustainable earthen floors are made from the surrounding earth material found right on site. That material can vary greatly depending on your soil structure and climate. A common misconception is that they are only built in warm climates. This is not true. There are many examples of earthen floors in both cold and wet climate areas. Earthen floors that are built in cold and wet climates require additional layers in order to be successful. The best part about them, in my opinion, is that earthen floors don't require favoring one product line or one manufacturing claim over another. So what are the other benefits? The main material can be practically free or literally dirt cheap to install. They have a warm, natural feel, but are also cool in the summer. The earth can be sourced on site, reducing transport distances and therefore fuel. There's no energy really required for processing. They have a lower embodied energy than any other flooring and hugely less than concrete. Their thermal mass can reduce heating bills. They can be repaired if cracked, making them long-lasting. There's virtually no end-of-life concerns due to the biodegradable nature of the materials. But there are a couple drawbacks. The biggest drawback is that they are heavy. And depending on the finish, there is a potential for minor damage from heavy or sharp objects. And they also have to be installed correctly on a perfectly level grade in order to avoid cracking over time. Before getting into commercial type of flooring products that are readily available on the market, it is important to remember that we must always pay attention to the waste reduction hierarchy. If you're looking to redo the floors in an entire home, the reuse option may be a bit more difficult to use. However, if you are looking to redo 1 or 2 rooms, you'd be surprised at how easy it is to find free or deeply discounted discarded building materials in brand new condition. For instance, my local Habitat for Humanity Restore has an entirely separate warehouse dedicated to just building materials, and much of that is flooring. Also, normally when you buy new flooring, you receive around 10 to 30% more material than you need, in case measurements are inaccurate, replacements are needed, or there is damage to some of the material. Sometimes people donate that excess material, and it can often be enough material to cover a room. Linoleum. It gets a bad rap. This is usually because linoleum is associated with ugly patterns on grandma's kitchen floor, or maybe that weird, potentially peeling, dated bathroom floor in your elementary school. Renovation experts rarely suggest using linoleum today because they're so used to ripping it up out of older homes and replacing it with something the market deems to be a little bit more modern. But linoleum just happens to be one of the most, if not the most, sustainable floor covering products on the market today. There is one key difference between older linoleum and modern linoleum. Older linoleum, the one that was invented by Frederick Walton, contained lead in its formulation. Raw linseed oil oxidizes very slowly, so Walton accelerated the process by heating it with lead acetate and zinc sulfate. This caused lead to end up in the final product. Additionally, older flooring adhesives contain asbestos fibers, so be careful if you're ripping up old linoleum that's glued down. In many cases, it is just tacked down, which is good. Modern linoleum is made from all natural materials, including wood flour, rosins, ground limestone, powdered cork, pigments, jute, and of course, linseed oil. As such, it is one of the greenest flooring options out there today. Linoleum is designed to last decades, just as long, if not longer, than any other potentially more hazardous flooring materials on the market. At the end of its life, modern linoleum can be recycled to create new sheets of the same stuff, and it's practically carbon neutral as the energy created by incinerating it at the end of its useful life is almost equal to the energy needed to recycle old linoleum into new linoleum. It can be used practically anywhere, from kitchens to bathrooms, living rooms, bedrooms. While linoleum is a little bit more expensive than vinyl, it still remains to be one of the cheapest types of floor coverings out there. It comes in a variety of colors and shapes, textures, installation methods. It's water resistant and easy to clean. It's exceptionally durable and long lasting. It can last over 40 years with proper maintenance and care, although it does require very little maintenance. It's also scratch resistant and can camouflage wear and tear even better than its more toxic counterpart, which is vinyl flooring. Some types of linoleum are susceptible to dents from furniture legs, and over time, certain types may darken or turn yellow if exposed to direct sunlight. Here we have some examples of cork flooring, which is another great option for sustainable, resilient flooring. Often it is installed in exercise or yoga rooms, playrooms, or areas with lower traffic and low moisture. It can sometimes contain binders which have chemicals that are considered to be asthmagens, so that is something to be aware of when selecting cork. In addition, some types of cork flooring can have a PVC-based top coat, but that can also be avoided. Cork feels great under your feet because it is cushiony and slightly buoyant. It is a durable material and resistant to cracks and abrasions and impermeable to liquids. With proper maintenance, it can also last 40 years or more. It's naturally antimicrobial. It does not really off gas or have VOC concerns. It's a fire resistant material. It's naturally thermal and is an acoustic insulation, giving rooms a warm and quiet feel. Unlike vinyl, the pattern and color of cork penetrate the thickness of the material. So those patterns and colors are retained as it wears, which lengthens the life of the cork. In addition to being used as surface flooring, cork can be used as an underlayment for hardwood, laminate, and ceramic tiles to reduce room noise. And another plus is the manufacturing process for cork flooring generates almost no waste. In fact, cork flooring is actually a byproduct of the manufacturing of cork stoppers for wine bottles. Cork can be a little bit more expensive than linoleum, and it also is subject to darken or discolor over time if exposed to direct sunlight. While vinyl flooring manufacturing has become somewhat cleaner over the years, we still cannot ignore the fact that vinyl flooring is predominantly comprised of PVC. PVC is hazardous throughout its life cycle. A synthesis which begins by reacting ethylene, which is derived from fossil fuels, and chlorine, which is derived from the separation of sodium chloride, creates ethylene dichloride. Ethylene dichloride is then converted to a vinyl chloride monomer, and the vinyl chloride monomer is polymerized into polyvinyl chloride resin. Various additives, usually encompassing but not limited to stabilizers and plasticizers, are incorporated to form a final PVC compound. Phthalates, once widely used as plasticizers, have been phased out of the manufacturing of new PVC. However, they have been replaced with other less or non-toxic plasticizers in most cases. Hazardous chemicals are the building blocks of the plastics economy. Also, the production of chlorine and its derivatives has a massive and growing impact, from ozone layer depletion to bioaccumulating toxicants to ocean pollution. Therefore, because of the toxic processes required to make PVC and the pollution created when it is disposed, vinyl floors of any kind are not a preferable material. It is important to note that some vinyl manufacturers have the ability to claim green credits through third-party verification processes. This is because they are using a certain percentage of recycled vinyl in their products. And although it is true that recycled vinyl diverts plastics from landfills, recycling rates of vinyl flooring remain very low, and purchasing recycled vinyl still encourages the use and production of vinyl, further supporting the PVC industry. Solid wood is an excellent choice in terms of sustainability because wood is strong, durable, versatile, and can be refinished when needed, which lengthens its life. Choosing solid wood floors means that you are utilizing a renewable resource without needing many additional components like binders, plasticizers, and stabilizers. The least amount of components used decreases the likelihood of chemicals being present in the product and also increases the ability to reuse or recycle the product at the end of its life. If solid wood floors are chosen, be sure to buy them pre-finished to avoid the need to finish them on site and expose yourself to VOCs. Also, locally sourced wood is the most sustainable option. Solid wood floors are one of the most expensive options in terms of upfront costs, but can significantly increase the value of your home. Ceramic tile is also an excellent choice in terms of sustainability, as their overall manufacturing process is relatively low impact. If choosing to purchase tile, ensure that they are made in the United States or that they are free of toxic glazes or unglazed. Avoid tiles with non-specific post-consumer recycled content and tiles that contain recycled CRTs, which can contain lead. Also, avoid using epoxy grouts and sealers that contain forever chemicals, like PFAS, which are usually labeled as oil repellent. Tile is one of the cheaper flooring options, depending on style and manufacturer. It has a long-standing history of being an excellent choice for any room in your house. It's very durable and versatile, impervious to water and stains, and is non-allergenic. Both engineered wood and laminate flooring are long-lasting and similar in structure with a few key differences. Engineered wood is comprised of thin layers of hardwood, usually with a thicker top layer and a plywood base layer. Laminate is a decorative sheet of paper over a solid piece of composite wood, and sometimes another base layer of wood or plastic. The quality of engineered and laminate wood can vary greatly by manufacturer, and so can the amounts and compositions of adhesives and binders. Engineered wood is generally considered to be more durable than laminate, and if the surface of laminate wears down over time, it cannot be repaired. Since engineered wood and laminate both require multiple layers of adhesives and binders, they are less preferred for health and sustainability reasons. Laminate can last anywhere from 10 to 30 years depending on quality, whereas engineered wood lasts a little bit longer, about 20 to 40 years. If laminate or engineered wood is chosen for your home, be sure to find products with soy-based binders and without added formaldehyde. Carpet in general is not considered to be a very sustainable product. Carpet can also adversely affect indoor air quality due to its propensity to trap allergens, which can get kicked back up into the air with foot traffic. In addition, carpet is yet another example of a product that has multiple components, which vary greatly by manufacturer and line. They include adhesives, a primary backing, a secondary backing, cushioning, and one or multiple textiles like wool or nylon. In addition, many types of carpet are treated with antimicrobials, flame retardants, and stain-resistant chemicals. There are many product stewardship challenges associated with carpet, and many working groups and nonprofits exist to address the environmental issues associated with carpet. It takes up significant amounts of space in landfills. It leaches persistent and bioaccumulative chemicals into landfill leachate. And even with the implementation of carpet take-back programs, only about 1 to 5% of carpet gets recycled in the US. While there are many carpet collection sites across the United States, not a single one exists in New York. However, in New York, a Senate bill is in the works to develop an extended producer responsibility program for carpet. In light of all these environmental issues associated with carpet, it is best to avoid purchasing them whenever possible. However, if you're going to go this route, it is recommended that you try to purchase carpet in tiles rather than as broadloom. This allows for individual tiles to be replaced when there is damage, rather than having to rip up an entire carpet and replace it, as seen in the third photo above. This is a short list of some chemicals of concern that are commonly found in carpet and some other hard surface and resilient flooring options. We already touched on some chemicals, including PVC, formaldehyde, phthalates, and PFAS. You should keep an eye out for products that contain these larger groups of chemicals. Again, PFAS, which are per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. They're persistent, bioaccumulative, and sometimes toxic. They have been found to migrate out of products and get into our air, dust, water, and our bodies. Antimicrobial chemicals. Many of the chemicals in this group can make bacteria resistant to antibiotics and disrupt our hormones. Flame retardant chemicals. They do very little, if anything, to slow or prevent fire. They migrate out of products and escape into our air, dust, and our bodies. And many are associated with cancer and reproductive harm. and other health issues as well. And then we have coal fly ash, which in itself isn't a chemical group, but it is something that is often used in carpet backing as an unencapsulated filler. And if it's not correctly attenuated, fly ash can contain heavy metals such as lead, cadmium, and mercury. It's important to pay attention to the ingredients in all accessories associated with carpet installation as well, including carpet backing, carpet pads, adhesives, and floor finishes and finish removers. These are some best practices that you can follow when purchasing any type of floor covering. Make sure that the product you're purchasing contains an HPD, which is a health product declaration, also an EPD, an environmental product declaration. Both of these sort of certify and show the commitment that the manufacturer has to making products both healthy and environmentally friendly. And they carry out the environmental product declarations through life cycle analysis, which is great. Try to procure your products as locally as possible. Buy local. Local wood products are highly preferable. It is also most preferable when they are certified to meet FSC, SFI, and USDA biopreferred standards. During the purchasing process, try to assess what the available trade-in, reuse, donation, and recycling options are. Many manufacturers have take-back programs. The cost may or may not fall on the consumer, depending on the manufacturer's program. So it's good to kind of look into those things to ensure that your flooring can ultimately be recycled at the end of its life. Try to prioritize products that can be installed with nails or mechanical fasteners rather than chemical adhesives. This reduces potential VOCs and increases the recyclability of the product. And it's good to note that mostly all floors can be cleaned without chemicals or with non-toxic chemical formulations. Regular sweeping, vacuuming, steam mopping, all of that can be enough. In fact, some flooring products respond negatively to harsh chemical cleaners, like hardwood and linoleum. For linoleum in particular, sweeping, dust mopping, or vacuuming frequently cuts down on the amount of abrasive dirt around that can build up and mar the finish. As for the actual cleaning, use a damp mop with a mild natural dish soap and warm water. Adding a half a cup of vinegar to the rinse water will increase its shine. You can get rid of scuff marks with jojoba oil by rubbing it lightly with a sponge and wiping it up completely. And pencil erasers can also work wonders on linoleum scuff marks. If carpet is being procured, ensure a carpet cleaning and maintenance program is well developed to increase the air quality in your home. So let's review. Among all the floor covering material types that we have covered in this presentation, my choice for the most sustainable products are earthen floors, linoleum, cork, solid wood, and ceramic tile. Again, be sure to pay attention to ingredients and components, which can vary greatly by manufacturer. With a little tweaking and the removal of heavy metals, we find that flooring products invented in ancient times aren't so different from the most sustainable products we've seen today. Thank you for joining me and taking a deep dive into the realm of floor coverings. I hope you feel more equipped to make the most sustainable choices possible during your next home renovation project. I'm going to paste a link in the chat to a really neat video I discovered about linoleum in case you're interested in watching it. Thanks again. I'll turn it over to Brendan.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. And that was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoy the presentations where folks answer my questions before I get a chance to ask them here at the end. So great job with how thorough it was. We do have a couple in the chat box here, though. The first one is, can you repeat the difference between resilient and hard surface coatings?
Yeah. So a hard surface flooring is hardwood or ceramic tile or even a softwood. Um, it's a flooring that's, very hard to the touch, whereas a resilient flooring option usually has some degree of buoyancy or softness to it. So like your linoleums, your corks, and the less desirable option of vinyl is another resilient flooring option.
Hmm. Let's see here. Are there any preferable options for end-of-life management of vinyl flooring?
Yeah, vinyl flooring, there's a lot of manufacturers out there today that do provide end-of-life options through take-back programs. And a lot of them do recycle vinyl flooring back into more vinyl flooring. So that's really great. That helps to divert vinyl from landfills, and that's something we really like to see companies do if vinyl is going to be so predominant out there in the market. So that's an option.
Hmm. And I know that through your presentation, you mentioned that there were quite a few issues with carpets and rugs. Do you have any thoughts on wool carpets specifically as a material compared to others?
Was that wool carpets?
Yep, wool carpets and rugs.
Yeah. So wool carpets and rugs are actually considered to be pretty sustainable. The thing is, the rugs are sort of preferred over carpet because carpet tends to have multiple components, including the backing. And a rug you can get without backing at all, and you can sort of use a separate piece of material to keep a rug in place on your floor so it doesn't slide around. And wool is considered to be a great option um, because it's an all natural kind of material that's renewable. So, so yes, wool rugs are good. And then second to that would be wool carpets just because of the backings that have to be installed on them.
Hmm. So it's not a bad option. And okay, so I'm going to show myself out here. So a couple other questions that have come in. Have you found that there's much linoleum flooring in the consumer market compared to the kind of facility market?
Yeah, it's coming back. It's something that I think a lot of us in the green procurement realm are really trying to drive the markets toward doing a bit more of through green procurement specifications. But it definitely is coming back. I don't think it's as popular as vinyl yet, and that's just probably because vinyl's cheaper. Um, it's not that much cheaper though. So I think it's just a lot of it has to do with people associating it with like that old flooring from grandma's kitchen and not really thinking about, oh wow, there's really cool new types of linoleum out there today. So I think we're starting to see it a lot more.
Hmm. So I've got two questions that have come in about radiant heat or heat underneath the flooring itself. Do you have any thoughts or have you run across anything on you putting different types of flooring over radiant heat, or if there's any issues with maybe warping or other things?
That's a good question. I have not even considered radiant heat flooring or flooring over radiant heat. Um, and I haven't read anything much about it either, so I'm not really well equipped to answer that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. And we've had a couple questions come in from folks asking if the slides will be available. If you would like the slides, please put your email in the chat box here. I'll also post them to the Green New York SharePoint. If you do have access to that, I'll post them there, or I can email them to you direct. And of course, a recording of it will be up on the Green New York website afterwards. So another question here actually there's a couple questions regarding maintenance. So do you have any resources for folks when it comes to refurbishing or taking care of, scuffs or light scratches on different types of flooring?
Um, I, I don't have any like resources offhand that I could share. But I do know that if you go to a carpet manufacturer's website, they usually have really big sections on there that are dedicated just to cleaning and maintenance. Um, so that's a great resource to look into. Um, Also, the Carpet and Rug Institute has um, a lot of stuff on their website. So if you look up CRI, they have a lot of carpet maintenance sort of techniques that they apply, especially because carpet is so commonly associated with asthma issues. So that's the best thing to do is just check out the manufacturer's, carpet or flooring cleaning best practices.
Mhm. And another question here about the engineered hardwood. Can that be waterproof, or are there waterproof versions of that?
So engineered hardwood and solid wood and a few other flooring types that we went over, like cork and linoleum, they're considered to be water resistant, but not waterproof. So, I mean, if a lot of standing water is present on top of these types of flooring, in that case, you might have some damage. But, if you spill a little bit of water and, wipe it up again, or even use some steam mopping to clean them, then you should be fine.
Mhm. And I've got one more question here. So if anybody has any final thoughts or they'd like a copy of the slides, please type either your email address or your question into the chat box. The last question I've got for you here is, in terms of installers, if you're not, DIYing it, are there any kind of certification programs or questions you should be asking your installers to make sure that they're not using any kind of toxic glues or other things like that?
Yeah, you'd want to discuss with them how, first of all, how old flooring is going to be ripped up before installing new flooring, because there's a lot of older adhesives out there that contained asbestos. So you want to make sure that they're certified to deal with asbestos. If you're just going for some new flooring and not ripping anything up, then you want to make sure that you discuss with them what the installation techniques will be, whether they're mechanically installing them or using adhesives. And then if adhesives are going to be used, then you want to check with them to make sure of the chemical properties of that adhesive, because there are a lot of different adhesives out there on the market, a lot. And some of those are formulated to be non-toxic nowadays. So if you can choose one over the other, then, go with the least toxic type of adhesive, as long as it meets your performance needs.
And we've got two final questions here. We'll kind of lightning round them for you. The first is, do you have any thoughts on the cost of earthen floor versus linoleum? Do you know which might be more cost effective?
Um, yeah, so earthen is considered to be the cheapest simply because of the fact that you can technically make them without the need to buy too many materials. They're supposed to be sourced on site. You might run into additional costs by having to install a slab or some kind of subfloor, especially if you live in a high moisture area. Um, but they're considered to be the absolute cheapest, and they're not really a marketable kind of flooring option. It's kind of separated out from that. So if you want to compare linoleum, Linoleum will probably cost you a little bit more, but you'll probably have to think about it less. So I would say earthen floors are kind of more designed for somebody who has, you know, that artisan sort of DIY, you know, want to sort of make a floor. And then the linoleum's a really good choice if you kind of just want to purchase something and not deal with, you know, looking into all of the intricacies of earthen floors.
Mm-hmm. And final question here is, what would you say is the safest and healthiest option for pets that you've found?
For pets, I think linoleum again is just probably going to be your most sustainable option, and your best option. It can wipe up easily, like super easily. That layer of linseed oil really helps with just keeping everything water resistant. Um, so yeah, I would definitely say linoleum there.
All right, so I want to say thank you once again, Christina. This was a fantastic presentation, and there's been plenty of kudos in the chat box here for you, and we really appreciate it. And just to let folks know, the next Lunchtime Learning webinar is going to be taking place on Tuesday, March 8th. It's on Sustainability for Kids, featuring DEC's fantastic Chris Bowser. So thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good one, and we'll see you in March.